Hello, if you've been here before, welcome back. If not, hi, my name is David. I make videos talking about different media that I enjoy. This is going to be the first of many, hopefully, series of me recapping the last few books I read in the month. I wish I started in the beginning of the year, but we're starting now in March. That's fine. I wanted to do other things beyond just talking about Magnus Archives and Magnus Protocol, and this is my next step, just talking about doing a monthly recap of all the books that I read in the past March. If you want, you can follow me on Goodreads. I'll put a link down below. That's where I have a lot of my rankings and some reviews of some of the books. And I also have a Twitter where I've been trying to branch into book Twitter a bit more. I'll put links down in the description for you guys to follow me if you so desire. This is going to be basically the same thing there, but in video format, because that's fun for me. These reviews will be spoiler free, and if I do get into spoilers, I will let you know when to skip over if you so desire. The first book that I finished in the month of March was Flyte by Angie Sage. Look how shiny it is. It's the second book of the Septimus Heap series. I read the entire series when I was younger. I was like 12, 13. And I read the first 6 books, and then the 7th book came out, and I just didn't finish the series. But I found them pretty cheap on thrift books, and I'm like, might as well start rereading them. And so whenever I finish a book, I buy the next book, and that's the next one I have to read. So I don't all buy it at the same time. That helps stretch out money, not save money, I think, but definitely stretches out money. And yeah, this book, it's a 3 out of 5 stars for me. It is the second book of the series. The first book was really fun. I remember reading it for the first time and liking it, and then rereading it again. The first book was really fun. This sequel, I don't know if the right term is sequel bait, but it definitely feels like a sequel that is sort of, I don't want to say half-assed, but it definitely felt very trying to push something out when there wasn't much. But I'm holding out hope that the third book, which I have to read soon, is good. I remember characters from that book more. I didn't remember much about this specific book, and a lot of things I remember are from later books, or even the first book in and of itself. And so I felt like this was a very safe, it was good. The conflict was really interesting. It's a perfectly safe book. I wasn't overly enjoying myself, but I wasn't overly bored. It was simply a sequel. And I am actually very excited for the third book, Physic, because I know that they're pretty good. So yes, so Flyte by Angie Sage, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I finished in March was actually a book of the month for February. I got it pretty early, and I didn't get to it until like the first week of March. It's A Season of Light by Julie Iromuanya. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. It is one of the book of the months that I chose for February. It's about a Nigerian family living in Florida, who the father has PTSD or some trauma about his sister being lost in the Nigerian Civil War, and because his daughter looks a lot like her, he locks his daughter in her room and doesn't let her out in the guise of protecting her. And I thought it was really interesting. The central conflict of the dad locking his daughter in a room was really well fleshed out and really compelling. The side characters, the mother and the son, had other side plots that didn't go anywhere, or anywhere that was super exciting. And so that was unfortunately not that good, but overall the writing in of itself was beautiful. And like I said, the conflict between the daughter being locked in the room, and the father keeping her trapped in there, was pretty good in of itself. And so I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars for the prose, it was beautiful prose. I read it in one day at work, so it's a pretty easy read as well, and it deals with heavy subjects as well. I would, I guess, put a content warning about this book, but it's still a pretty easy read. And so, yes, I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm making it a point of pride that I have a lot of these books physically, but the next book is not. It is The Proposal by K.A. Applegate. It is book number 35 of Animorphs. I don't think I've been able to talk about this, but I've been trying to get through the entire series of Animorphs. And I've been able to do that by listening to Audiomorphs, which is this podcast on Spotify and other places. I believe I just listened to it on Spotify in and of itself, run by this guy named Daniel. He's fucking amazing at making these books, reading them out, and he puts them out every week. And I listen to him on my bike ride. I've talked a lot about how I listen to archives and protocol on my bike rides, and so in between uploads of protocol, I've been listening through Animorphs. I've been listening to his podcast for a long time now, and I've caught up all the way to book 35, which is a lot. And The Proposal, really good. It's about Marco, one of the Animorphs, dealing with an emotional strain that is making him not be able to morph correctly, while they're also dealing with this, like, he's not a televangelist, but he's like a late night TV host that's kind of, I don't know, not like hypnotizing people, but he's like influencing people, and it's going to become a front for people to be kidnapped by the alien Yeerks. Do we know? Hey, audience, do we know about the central conflict of Animorphs? They're fighting against parasitic brain slugs called Yeerks, and they're Animorphs. There's 6 main characters, 5 humans, and 1 Andalite. I will make a ranking video of all of the half of the series, because we are only up to book 35.5. So I've listened to all of it, most all of it. And so I will make a ranking video of that soon. Anyways, Proposal, really run-of-the-mill book. I liked it. It's 4 out of 5 stars for me. Descriptions were really fun here. The poodle, I forget its name, that Marco has to turn into is really annoying. Here's a spoiler alert for the book. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to learn about book 35 of The Proposal. But yeah, so in close to the end, they're trying to make this this late night TV host go crazy and get himself fired, so he stops being a front for the Yeerks to attract people. And so at the end of it, they try different things at like a gala, and it all fails because Marco's not dealing with his. So Marco is dealing with his father dating one of his teachers. The episode is called The Proposal because his father wants to marry his teacher. Now that's a normal human thing that happens, right? But that's not what's making Marco emotionally distraught. It's because he knows that his mother, who's been missing since the beginning of the series, they find out close to around book 5, I think, that she's actually been taken over by Visor 1, who is not the main antagonist of the series. Main antagonist is Visor 3, but Visor 1 is a very, very big secondary antagonist in the series. They've encountered her 2 times by now, and so Marco knows that his mom, who everyone thinks his father used to think that she died, that she disappeared and died, and was in a catatonic state, and Marco finds out that his mother's not dead. She's actually one of the first humans to have been taken over by a Yeerk, and has tried to kill his mother, who's actually being controlled by Visor 1. And so when his father is about to marry this woman, it's because he thinks that his wife, Marco's mother, is dead and gone, and he wants to move on. There was a point in time before, like I said, he was catatonic. He's now better. He got better for Marco. Oh my god, there's so much here. Marco is distraught because he knows that his mother is not dead, but being taken over by Yerk, and he cannot tell his father that. So he feels like his father's betraying his mother, but his father thinks that his mother's dead and is trying to move on, and that's causing him distress and causing him to mess up his morphing, which is very dangerous. And at the very end of the book, he transforms into his father's girlfriend slash fiance slash wife at the very end. Very end. They get married at the very end. Dog, puppy, the poodle, and harasses the TV host. He's a Yerk as well. Harasses him and gets him fired from his show using the poodle morph. And that was a really fun moment. Throughout it all, I really liked how Cassie, who is another Animorph member, who is because the group, oh my god, there's so much to talk about. In the group, it's a 5-man band archetype. Cassie's pretty much the heart of the group, and she's like the smart one. And she talks to Marco about his emotions, and he, pushes back against it. And there's this long conversation between them about what they're dealing with and how to face it and stuff like that. It's a really nice moment there as well. And so overall, yes, there's so much about Animorphs that is just amazing, and I want to make more. I want to make videos. I'm gonna make a ranking video for it. Anyways, The Proposal, book 35 of Animorphs, is 4 out of 5 stars. It's so good. The next book I read is Heavenly Tyrant by Xiran Zhao. It is so good. It's a second book to the Iron Widow series. Get out of here. Ooh. This one was really good, and I loved it. And Iron Widow was so good that it took me some time to get it. I did find it on sale. I should have gotten it as soon as it came out because it's so good. And it's dealing with the main character, Zetian, who is trying to balance being the conquering queen of her, this is a fictional country, while also dealing with the emperor that she revived at the end of the first book. I'm not spoiler warning that. The first book's been out for like years. But yes, she's trying to deal with that, and it's really good. It's a great story about feminism, about capitalism, about labor. It deals with so many issues around labor and work and exploitation, and really comes at all of these topics from different points of view, and allows yourself, the audience, to come to the same conclusions that the author Xiran Zhao wants to impart upon us. And it doesn't feel preachy at all. And there is so many layers, complex layers of story and history, not only to the actual in story history, but also Chinese history, human history, interwoven into the story. And Xiran Zhao has said that this is inspired by Chinese history. In the front here, there is an author's note that says, although inspired by figures and events from across Chinese history, this book is not historical fiction, historical fantasy, or alternate history, but a futuristic story set in a science fiction world entirely different from our own in the way that many sci-fi stories riff off of the Roman Empire. Love that. I love that, she's pulling from traditions of past sci-fi and ensuring that, hey, this is just like any other sci-fi, but inspired by Chinese history instead of Roman or Celtic British history. Spoiler warning for this book, skip to this time code if you don't want spoiler warnings for Heavenly Tyrant. At the very end, Zetian and Qinsheng use the chrysalises, which are the huge mechas that they use to fight the aliens, to fly to the space station that is their gods, right? Because they learn at the end of the first book that in reality, all the history, all of their life here is a lie, and it's actually in service to gods above. They fight aliens huge aliens, Hunduns, using these chrysalises or mechas. And every year they give tribute to the gods and 9 women. And they, at the very end of the first book, Zetian found out that that's all a lie. That's actually people up there with highly advanced technology. And so near the end of the book, Zetian and Kinjang have already dealt with the revolution of bringing more rights to women and workers, and they are trying to free themselves from these gods because also Zetian, one of Zetian's lovers, presumed dead, is actually being healed by the gods. And so they go and attack them, and it turns out, pulling from tradition of other science fiction stories, it is not a big stretch to think that this is some huge government that is hiding stuff from them. And we've seen these types of stories before, like I thought it was similar to like the Hunger Games, with the capital being, the gods and the districts being subjugated by the capital. In reality, it's a lot more fun because it's just a corporation like Amazon. And I think that's amazing commentary because, like, the gut reaction for people who know about science fiction is that this subjugation is coming from like a government entity, but it's not. It's a corporation that is using the tributes, the dead aliens that they give at the beginning of the year for money. And so they incite a war between, themselves on the planet, because it's actually not their home planet, and the corporation. And I think that's such a different and also timely story to tell. Instead of it just being a government in and of itself, it's a corporate entity that only does stuff for money. And so I think that was an amazing revelation because she knows, Zhao knows that we would gut reaction think of like the capital for this, but it's just a singular company, and there's like other companies out there as well. That is insane, expands the world so much, and I loved it so much. I highly recommend Iron Widow, Heavenly Tyrant. I thought this was going to be a duology too, and I find out it's not. It's not. Oh my god. Anyways, yes, I adore this book so much. It is a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is The Darkness Outside Us by Eliot Schrefer. I believe it is marketed as a Storm Pilot book, among other books that were marketed. Storm Pilot being the ship between Finn and Poe in Star Wars. I used to ship them when the sequel series came out, because obviously, why wouldn't you have shipped Storm Pilot? Storm Pilot, but not Raylo. If the possibility of Raylo, then I do ship Ray Finn in place of Raylo, but also Storm Pilot. Finn has 2 hands. Anyways, we're not talking about Star Wars. We're talking about the darkness outside us. It's. I didn't like the beginning. It felt too YA. There was some prose that felt jokey, but as it kept going, it got better. Prose was still kind of jokey, still kind of YA joke. The issue, for me at least, is that when you make science fiction and you want to add in popular culture to help audiences connect to your story, at times, if you talk about popular culture, that is more modern, it feels weird that someone, because they make a joke about Star Wars. Makes sense because I believe this book is marketed as Star Wars. If not, I'm so sorry for being wrong about that. But they are in year 2400 something. And so he makes a joke, the main character, Ambrose, makes a joke of Star Wars. But he's 400 years in the future to the year 2000, which is when the prequels came out. And that feels very weird. It's as if I made a passing remark joke any other day about the Canterbury Tales, right? It just feels asynchronous, and I can feel the hand of the author writing this. And so a lot of the beginning of the story felt very YA and juvenile to me, and I didn't quite enjoy it. As the story went on, the story and the prose in and of itself matured a bit more for me, and so it got better, and the concepts were really interesting, and so I liked it a lot more. Quick spoiler warning here, turns out that they are constantly replicating clones, and it adds this existential horror to this story. And I liked this existential horror, but at times also it was undercut by these YA elements. And so overall, I much enjoyed the latter half dealing with existentialness because they pass through many thousand years being the sole humans alive, and at the very end, they arrive at a planet to repopulate, which is really fun. That feels more in the tradition of older Golden Age science fiction. I liked it a lot more towards the end, but I almost didn't finish this book towards the beginning. So yeah, I have conflicting feelings about this book, but it gets better towards the end. I swear to that. And as a Storm Pilot fan fiction, if it's not, I'm sorry, but I believe it is Storm Pilot inspired. If it is that, it's not. If it is a Storm Pilot thing, if it actually was about Storm Pilot, it is not, because Ambrose is Hispanic, feels Hispanic, and Kodiak, the other character, is Russian coded. And so I'm actually not fully sure. I should have looked that up before I started talking about this. I thought this was a Storm Pilot based book. If it's not, I'm so sorry. But if it is, then it's not a really good Storm Pilot book, because it's definitely not Finn and Poe. Might have changed the races. Whatever. It's a fine book. Like I said, it's much better towards the end of it. So I would give it a 3 out of 5 stars, because it's the really, really good existential horror is counterbalanced by the YA-ness of it towards the beginning. So, yes, the next book that I read this month. Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. 5 out of 5 stars, straight off. It was so good. I guess this is my mini review for it. My summer project, when my classes finish, is going to be making a larger Books That Changed Me video about Sunrise on the Reaping, mostly focused on just beautiful prose and how it knows that we know how the story ends, but still does stuff to surprise us. And it's really, really amazing. Spoiler warnings, I guess, here, but also this is going to be my quick review of this book. I promise I will make a larger video about it, because I absolutely adored it. And so, it covers the 50th Hunger Games. And so it covers the 50th Hunger Games, which is the Quarter Quell, where double the amount of tributes were reaped from each of the districts. And so instead of having just one male, one female, it was 2 males, 2 females from every district. And so from the get-go, I knew that this was going to be difficult for Suzanne Collins to juggle 48 characters when it was already hard to juggle 24 in OG Hunger Games. And she does an amazing job giving enough weight to the 4 tributes to District 12, including Haymitch. And she kind of cheats a little ways through in terms of killing Luella before the games start, and also killing Wyatt right at the beginning of the games. But it's really great balance in the first half of the 4 tributes, and then dealing with the rest of the tributes in the actual Hunger Games in of itself. And there was some, I would say, fan service in the form of characters returning from mainly Hunger Games, but also, I believe, characters from Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I have not read, but is the next one to be. It's on my. I bought it. I have it. I'm gonna read it soon. My boyfriend wants me to watch the movie with him because he watched the movie without me because I didn't want to watch it. But now I do because this was so good, and I was like, might as well read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I do believe that some characters, or at least names, return from Ballad, as well as names from the OG series and characters from the OG series. I would say it's fan service. Some of it feels like it actually does do stuff, like Plutarch and BT. Some of it doesn't really go anywhere, like Mags and Wyrus. But either way, it's really good use of this fan service, quote unquote, for the story. And so I enjoy it a lot. And I was really happy with how much this book feels hopeless, but also filled with hope. Like, you know that all these people that Haymitch is talking to, that is making interactions with, are going to die because Haymitch wins. But it still leaves us with some sort of anticipation as to, how, and also surprises us with some really good moments, such as, I would say, Luella dying and being replaced by Lulu. Oh my god, that is terrifying. And I absolutely adored it. So yes, I promise to make a larger video for this book in the summer when I'm no longer in school, and I will read Ballad. I don't know if I'll like it or not. I'll watch the movie, at least too. But yes, it was so good. It was so good, and I adored it. 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month was Devolution by Max Brooks. You might know Max Brooks as the writer of the World War Z novel that became the movie starring Chris Hemsworth, I believe. I didn't see that. I don't like zombies. Anyways, Max Brooks' Devolution. It's the first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch massacre. It is a massacre that happened in a secluded area during a volcanic explosion in Mount Rainier in Oregon, I believe it was, or Washington. And it is the first-hand account of one of the women in that secluded area. Her name's Katie, and I believe it's a safe book for me. It was a very general adult thriller, and I don't feel like it took any big swings. I did enjoy when it would deviate into separate interviews with different people that sort of gave context to different stuff. Like, at points, there would be important moments with characters within Green Loop, which is the location, there's also a map, where the massacre occurred. And it would talk about the characters. It would give like quick insight into a character's backstory. And so I really liked how it did that at different times. And obviously, it's about Sasquatch, Bigfoots. Like I said, it didn't really do anything super interesting, but it kept enough of my attention that I wanted to finish it. And the main character feels very interesting. She changes and she goes through a lot. However, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief because how is this woman still writing in her journal as all this shit goes down? But overall, I can't fault what it was because it's very much an adult thriller that, I don't know, it didn't feel like, I want to say like it didn't have any spice, but not in terms of like sexual spice. It just didn't feel that exciting. It was perfectly safe. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing amazing about it. I at least like the map. Like, I showed you the map. I like the map. It was really interesting. The side characters, some of them were really interesting. Some of them were not. I especially liked the slightly older Lady Mostar, who has a larger implied backstory that is not shown at all, but has a really good teasers of that backstory. And so I enjoyed her. At least I know some other side characters as well. The woman's husband, Katie's husband, Dan, boring. He doesn't do anything. Well, he does, but he was so boring. He was so bland. Anyways, 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in March is, I'm pushing the boundaries here. I finished it yesterday, which is the 1st of April. But is the Andalite Chronicles, the book number 12.5 of Animorphs. And so when I was first listening through with the podcast of Audiomorphs, again, links in the description, the Chronicles series, Andalite Chronicles, Hork-Bajir Chronicles, and I forget the third one's name. I skipped them because they were too long. But now that I'm waiting for updates of Protocol and updates for the next book of Animorphs, I was like, let me just go back and read them. And oh my god. Andalite Chronicles was long, but so good. It's a 5 out of 5 stars for me immediately. It deals with the alien that gave the 5 Animorphs the Animorphing power in the first place, in the first book, Alfangor, who is also the brother of one of the 6 Animorphs, Axe, who's also an Andalite, which is these centaur-like aliens that are the central species in this war between Andalites and Yeerks. And it deals with how Alfangor came into power, and it starts with him just as like I forget the Arth. It's like a cadet. It deals with other aspects of the main storyline that I forget exactly when the Time Matrix comes back, but the Time Matrix is here. Visitor 3 begins becoming Visitor 3 here. It's not a spoiler. This is when we meet Lauren, who is Tobias's mother, who is Alfangor's son. We learn about that in book 20, around book 20, I want to say. So that's not a big spoiler. It is a spoiler, I guess, at this time. Well, no, they say. Anyways, yes, it starts a lot, and it is so beautifully written. It is amazing. Shout out to Daniel, his voice acting for this book specifically, and all the other books of Animorphs is just amazing. But also, just this book specifically is so good. I loved this book so much. It was so long, and it took me. I have to check my Goodreads. At least like 3 weeks to listen to it. But despite that, amazing story. I should not have skipped this when I was first listening through. I went from like 12 to 13, and I missed 12.5. And so because of this, I'm listening to Hork-Bajir Chronicles right now, and that one's also amazing. And also, I'm waiting for the weekly updates of Visor, which is a direct follow-up to Margot and Visor 1. Like, Visor itself is talking about Visor 1's beginning. And so, I don't know if they're spin-offs, but the Andalite Chronicles, amazing. Hork-Bajir Chronicles, I haven't finished it. It is, I would say, better than Andalite Chronicles. Andalite Chronicles was amazing in of itself. And so, I absolutely adored Alfangor's story, and I can't wait to finish Aldria's story, and I cannot wait until I hear more about Visitor 1 as those episodes keep coming out. Shout out to Daniel. And yeah, so Andalite Chronicles, number 12.5 of 5 stars. So good. And last but not least, the actual March book of the month that I got, Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. It is about these 2 people who keep reincarnating and keep finding each other, and they are in love with each other, Arden and Evelyn. It's the point of view of Evelyn, but they have to kill each other before they turn 18, and this is about Evelyn trying to figure out why. It's marketed as a combination of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and This Is How You Lose the Time War. I read This Is How You Lose the Time War, which was pretty good. And I have not read Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but I have definitely heard a lot of good things about it. I feel like it wastes its premise of reincarnating every year, or every 18 years, with this killing gimmick. It feels like a gimmick that they have to kill each other. And I can like when I was first reading it, I could like kind of see exactly why, coming from a mile away. Like there was not going to be a big surprise. And in reality, there was a big surprise. There was a big reveal, and I didn't quite like it. It treats love as this immutable quality, and I don't quite enjoy that. And the way that Arden, who is the soulmate that keeps reincarnating along with Evelyn, the way that Arden treats her makes me feel like she should not love him as much because of how much he disrespects her by not telling her the truth. And she still loves him. And I feel like that's saying something. And it feels abusive. It feels misogynist, despite them not containing any sort of adherence to gender. Like Evelyn says, Evelyn and Arden both say, you know, I don't really consign myself to one gender. But it's always Arden and Evelyn, and Arden has this power imbalance over Evelyn that I do not like. It feels icky, for lack of a better term. It feels misogynist. It feels wrong. And from the like first half, I could not figure out if I was supposed to be feeling this frustrated, if that was the intended outcome that Laura Steven had planned. I didn't know if I was supposed to be feeling frustrated or not, but I was feeling very, very frustrated, and I did not like that feeling. And so I honestly fast-tracked finishing this book so I could talk about it during this video. I also finished it last night, April 1st. But it was still really beautiful. I really, really enjoyed moments where they were in different time periods, different locations. That felt really beautiful. And the prose in and of itself, I've only read 2 of these Book of the Month books, but like the prose has continuously been just amazing. But I feel like this book, at least the premise is wasted by this small contained story. And you know, This How You Lose a Time War did a really good job showing off the different locations, and I feel like this book could have benefited from not trying to focus on things and maybe just rearranging how information is presented and motivations for the characters. And so overall, unfortunately, it's a 2.5 out of 5 stars for me. I'm conflicted about this book, and I feel like I shouldn't be conflicted about this book because it really was beautiful, and the romance moments felt very romantic and felt very good. But I feel like some aspects of this should have been reworked, and the twist reveal at the end should have been something else. I did not enjoy it at all. The last 50 pages did could do without. But at least I finished it and was able to talk about it in this video. If you got this far, thank you so much. I will be putting out another one of these month in review videos at the end of April. I don't know when this video is coming out exactly. I have to edit it, obviously. But I look forward to keep talking about different books. Like I said, I promise to make a larger video for Sunrise on Reaping because it was so, so good. And keep an eye out for all the other projects that I'm working on. Entity exploration videos, protocol, maybe an Animorphs video, ranking video maybe, because I love the Animorphs so much. Follow me on my Twitter and my Goodreads. I'll put links down in the description. Go check out Daniel's podcast. He is absolutely amazing. I'll put his links down in the description as well. Most of these books I got from Thrift Books, so hey Thrift Books, sponsor me please. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, share with your friends. Don't forget to be passionate, and I'll see you later.